Hi, I'm Rob, and today we're at the Old George in Fair Oak. So the Old George is an 18th century coaching pub, and it's sat here in the square for about 300 years now. It's Grade 2 listed, and it's on the main Southampton, Winchester to London road. Now, in the square, there's an oak tree. And that oak tree gives its name to the village, because under, not that oak tree, I think that's the second or third oak tree, but under the tree that was here originally was a fair, and that gave the village the name of Fair Oak. So back to the George again. That was built around the time of the coronation of King George I, and King George I was a king from the House of Hanover. And there were riots all over the country when he was coronated, but Fair Oak a little bit more civilised than that. The Stuart supporters just refused to go there. So the Old George was integral to the fair that was held here every June until 1918. The first stall holder would go across the square to the pub, and he'd receive a key from the landlord. At the end of the day, you can take that key into the pub and exchange it for beer. Sounds like a good tradition to me. Now, the first tree on the site rotted, and the sort of local legend has it that the landlord presented the second tree that he planted there for free. It was a gift from him to celebrate the birth of his firstborn child. Now, the rotted remains of the first tree, they were made into a chair, and they're currently in Winchester Cathedral. There's also a little bit more left, and it was made into a wall plaque, which is in the old convent in Allington Lane, which is now a private school, the King's School. So we start our walk by walking past the Old George down to the traffic lights. Now, Fair Oak didn't become a village of its own accord until 1894. Until that time it was under the parish of Stoke, and the lead church was the Church of St Mary's. St Thomas Church was actually built as a chapel of ease for the cemetery. There is, however, some documentary evidence that in 901 this area was settled and was named Knollgate. Now, the date 901 leads me to think Vikings, and the name CN, like Canute, leads me to believe that maybe it was the Vikings that settled it, a reasonably safe distance from Winchester, where of course the Saxons had their capital. So we keep walking in the general direction of Botley. Forgot to say the St Thomas Church was built as a chapel of ease in 1863. Fair Oak basically was built on sand pits and things. That was a major industry in Fair Oak, along with the woods. The sand pit was a little bit further up here, as you can see reflected in the name of the care home. So at the Fair Oak and Horton Heath Village Hall, we turn left up Knoll Park Lane. Now, I'm looking at the KN on that Knoll Park Lane, and 2 and 2 might be adding up to 5 here, but Knollgate, Knoll Hill, similar, aren't they? Maybe? So just follow the signs and follow the little closer round. Does a left then a right, and then you're into Knoll Park. So we're going to turn left on this path. We're going to head up to where the trig point is, so we can have a look at the nice view from up here. Knoll Park was opened by Eastleigh Borough Council in 2006. It comprises of 35 acres of former farmland, and it was kindly donated by the farmer John Gosney. And it's a very, very popular local area for walkers and dog walkers. So head for the trig point, you can't miss it. And up on top of the mound, you'll be able to see a great view apart from the fact we've got the winter mist. Now there are great views all around from this trig point. Some plates on the floor that tell you what's what. They're a bit dirty at the moment, but not sure what that is. Durley Church maybe. Isle of Wight in that direction. Rose Bowl Cricket. Airport. And the famous TV mast in Stoke Park Woods. And that's north. So what can we see today? A bit misty, but we can see the TV mast over in Stoke Park Woods and Fair Oak lying in the dip there. And then you've got Eastleigh in the mist. And the airport. And Prismian, and then the far distance, which you can't see because of the mist again, you've got Southampton Docks and the Isle of Wight. Shame it's not clear. It's a nice view on a clear day. Anyway, we're going to walk away from the trig point. There's a path over there beyond that oak tree, and we're going to walk down the hill. So we come down from the trig point, and this path on the left is the one we're going to take by the little car park and the wrought iron things. And there's a little schematic of Knoll Park. So we come out of Knoll Park onto, what do you know, Knoll Lane. We start our walk down here. Well, the very first walk I did, the Fair Oak lockdown walk, on the original lockdown we came down here. So carrying on past the Home Park nursing home, lovely monkey puzzle tree, and Taste of Old England, an old lamppost, a telephone box, and a finger post sign which says 2 miles to Wainstrow, or Wangtrow. I'm not sure where Wangtrow is. Almost missed the bus stop and the telephone box. And the other finger post bit which says Backham and Cranmore, which I think is Surrey. Well, that is a vintage machinery person's delight. Look at all those old tractors. Yeah, some fixing up to be done there. We're going to come off Knoll Lane into Durley Road. Where that new house is, there used to be a lovely cottage or a lovely old couple in there, and they used to sell cut flowers. Used to go in there and buy some cut flowers for 50p a bunch. But anyway, carry on down Durley Road. And we pass Cockpit House on the left. So at this point in the lane there's a grassy knoll off to the right, and easy to miss as a stile which takes you off across the golf course. So it's quite hard to find your path across the golf course, but this bit is quite good. As you see, it's sort of cut and rolled, so it's a darker path leading up the hill. So looking back where we've just walked, apart from the fact it's misty, it shows perfectly that we're now sort of on the top of the Hampshire Basin. Now, the Hampshire Basin is low-lying clay on which stands Eastleigh, Southampton, Totton, whichever way you go out of those areas, apart from south of course, you end up in the Solent or Southampton Water, but whichever way you go out of those towns and cities, you've got to go uphill, because on this side it's the chalk of the downs that changes direction, if you like, the underlying rock strata, and gives way to the muddy clay-like conditions in the basin. So there you go. If you live in Southampton, you're really in the plug hole bit, literally where all the water drains out. So we've come off the golf course and we've turned left down the lane. This is technically part of Durley, or as they used to call it in the old days, because the roads weren't made up very well here, Dirty Durley. So Greenwood farmhouse, which isn't there, it's up the back, we can't see it unfortunately. It's actually a grade 2 early 19th century listed building that was Greenwood Manor. And probably the most famous resident there was the physician in ordinary to Queen Victoria. His name was Sir William Jenner, and he lived there with Lady Jenner when he retired, and he was a first baronet. So literally just after Greenwood Farm, or Greenwood Manor, the road bends round to the right, but we carry on forward. It's a footpath which takes us back onto the golf course again. Oh, what's this sign say? Please, the golf course is on lockdown. Please keep to the footpath. Thank you. Although someone disagrees with it, I see someone scratching on there. No, it's not. Must have been some golfers out there. So, over the another stile. And these are nice stiles actually, very low. And straight on. Quite a nice golf course this. You'll be seeing a lot of it on this walk. It's East Horton Golf Course, which is the one you get to off Mortimer's Lane. There's a little lake there, look. So another one of them lovely stiles. Well done, golf club. Look at that. Compare that one to the walk at Titchfield, where you had to be like a hurdler or something to get over it. This is perfect. Nice and stable too. And you cross Greenwood Lane. There's a footpath sign. And you enter the wood. Prizes for guessing the name of the wood. Greenwood. Lovely and quiet in these woods. You could be a million miles away from anywhere. So as we carry on through Greenwood, look out for this post on the left. Easy to miss. We just did. And we're going to take this slightly less defined path off to the left. So we come out of the woods and you skirt this fence on the left until you come out on the lane. So we come out the end of Durley Hall Lane, back onto Greenwood Lane again, turning right. Squeaky brake bike behind me. And after a very short distance, there's a finger post on your left. And we take this path back out across the fields. Hello! Grass is always greener on the other side. Quite a nice little paddock with some jumps over there. Nice little footbridge. Over a little tiny stream, and that will run all the way down and probably feed the River Itchen, or it might feed the Hamble. One of the two, not sure on that. Anyway, across the stile. So we're going to head across this last bit of East Horton Golf Course out towards Mortimer's Lane. So that's nice. Once you get to the 11th tee, there's post markers that take you across the golf course in the right direction. I really like the way they've looked after the paths and the stiles and things on this golf course. Top marks to them. So back in 2016, Eastleigh Borough Council published plans for a massive new town and a link road to the motorway, and it was all starting just up the road near Lower Upham, and this here would have been roughly where the centre would be, with supermarkets and houses and goodness knows what. Quite rightly, in 2020 the independent planning inspector said in legal terms, "You must be mad, leave it out." No, they turned it down for various reasons: proximity to the South Downs, sites of special scientific interest, not here but in the woods, ancient wood, everything else that goes with it. Really rubbish the plan. A group of people called AD, Action Against Destructive Development. They were just local people from all the villages surrounding Bishopstoke, Fair Oak, Durley, Twyford, Common, got together and fought the council, raised over £100,000 and ultimately won. So a bit of people power. Actually, that's not uncommon here. Stoke Park Woods, which we'll be passing by shortly, was owned by the bishops, and they refused entry to the local people, and the local people fought it and gained entry. Later on, the Forestry Commission took it over in 1948, wanted to use it for growing pine wood, refused entry, local people fought it and they again won. So there's quite a passion for the countryside in this area, which is always under threat from developments and things. Bullion field, this could be interesting. Oh god, he's there as well, I think. Or is that pile of mud? Let's have a look. No, that is very definitely the bull. I can see his horns and everything. Thankfully he's asleep, let's hope we don't wake him up. So there's the stile. Yon bull over there has woken up and looking at us. Hopefully he's not too interested. I reckon I could outrun him to that stile now anyway. So that's Mortimer's Lane over there. It's the Fair Oak to Upham Road. So you'll be happy to hear we're not long on this very busy Mortimer's Lane. We just walk up past Mortimer's farm on the left, and there's a finger post over on the right there pointing across the fields into what was once Fair Oak Park. More about that in a minute. So into the next field, over the stile, but there's a gap by the stile now. And what you'll notice about this field is the obvious planting of specimen trees, and it's actually parkland of a mansion house, and it's known as Fair Oak Park. It's a listed historical garden or parkland. Fair Oak Park actually fell into disrepair in 1958, and by 1970s the site of the house had housing estates built on it. This is Eastleigh Borough after all. The tenant, or one of the last tenants there, was a chap called George Herbert Pember, and he was a Justice of the Peace for Hampshire, and ironically the name of the road that sits on the old house is Pember's Close. So walking across these fields has reminded me that back in the 1830s, in the fields around Fair Oak and Bishopstoke, there's a thing going on nationally called the Swing Riots, and what it was a revolt by farm labourers, because a lot of the farm machinery was being modernised, automated, and in Fair Oak's case a gang of them went round smashing up threshing machines, which of course one threshing machine and someone to load it and whatever would do the job of several men with scythes. So that was Fair Oak's contribution to the Swing Riots in the 1830s. So as you see, Park Hills Woods, just over the hedge there. On the left there's it's not a stile, it's a kind of gap in the fence, and we take that, and the footpath leads us along the edge of the fields. So this is Park Hills Wood, and it too is ancient woodland, and interestingly this wood is privately owned, and it's parcelled up into little chunks that people work. So there might be people there growing bean poles, coppicing, whatever, but that's a working wood, but it's still ancient woodland. In fact, this area we're walking is the largest remaining part of the Forest of Bere, as it would have been for King John in 1205, as a hunting wood, in that there's lots of woodland interspersed with fields, footpaths, all these sorts of things. I know the Forest of Bere is better known as the place out Denmead way, but I mean that is just kind of woodland. This is proper forest in the real term of forest, or hunting forest, in that it's lots of separate woods interspersed with fields. Very, very special place. And incidentally, this would have been Councillor House's main road coming down here towards the motorway. So now we're walking one of the very old rights of way. It's very much horse country here. Mick Shannon, the ex-Saints footballer and racehorse trainer, used to have a stable here back in the 80s. So the end of the path carries on like the start of the path, and we've had some hilarious moments along here, so I'm going to commit them to a special bit at the end on the bloopers, provided I can bleep out the awful language of Trev the camera. Anyway, that's for the end of the walk, after the credits. And here we are, there's the Fox and Hounds at front, the start of my Bow Lake Loop walk, and we're going to cross the main Botley to Winchester Road and take the bridle way that runs down the side. Thankfully no more mud like that. So we continue down the bridle way, which takes us into what I call the Stoke Park Woods countryside, which is beautiful. There's more paths than you can shake a stick at, lots of different woodlands, absolutely beautiful. And this was where Eastleigh Council wanted to drive a road, a massive main road running straight through the motorway with houses off either side. So glad they were beaten. I mean, this is a very local walk for me, as you know. It's locked down. This is literally a doorstep walk for me, and I was so lucky to have this here. We fought for it for all we were worth. Yeah, road would have gone straight through that field, but anyway, we're turning left, and then we're going to turn right into Crowd Hill Copse. So the woodland across the other side of the field is Woodland Trust property, and that's called Upper Barn Copse, and you're completely free to roam through there. This is Crowd Hill Copse, again you're completely free to roam. It's Woodland Trust again. So there's a bench there dedicated to someone's loved ones, so if you want to donate to the Woodland Trust, you can do it in all sorts of ways. You can join, or you can sponsor a tree, or get a bench there with your loved one's name on. A lot of the standing water in the woods comes from a bad piece of hydrology for the new development that went on this side of the woods. Not part of the local plan, but they put in things called bunds, which are supposed to hold the water back, and it started off with one bun, or it might have been two, and it didn't work, so they put more and more. You see the water running down the side there, a bit of brick. And basically you got a field. It's quite lovely, we're going to walk through it in a minute, but it was supposed to be a wildflower meadow. But what happens is all the bunds, they're wrongly designed. They dump all the water out into the bottom bund, which constantly overflows, and they just let it overflow into Woodland Trust land, which is criminal. But they must have come to some agreement with the Woodland Trust. There'll be bluebirds over. So we come out the end of Crowd Hill Copse, and And this is the Hardings Lane Bridleway, another very ancient track. In there lies Stoke Park Woods, massive tract of Forestry Commission wood for community use. You can go in there and then turn left and it'll bring you to the same place, but we're going to turn left now, so omitting that part of Stoke Park Woods, to walk by the buns, which are quite attractive, if not for the fact there were orchids in there and there aren't anymore. But it is quite attractive what they've done, even though they don't work. Bit of wrought iron, look. Some stags over there in steel cut profile. So the council put in fancy benches, which is nice. And here's the bottom bund, which is quite attractive because it's full of water. This is bulrushes and things, but it's constantly overflowing through these drains into Crowd Hill Copse. So as we continue along the path, you can see the other bunds. Lots of lovely bulrushes, but hardly any water in. So terrible hydrologist's error. If you remember when we were up at the trig point, saw the telephone mast in Stoke Park Woods, well there it is there. So we come out of this little area. Again, it's nice little touches on there. Nice little what looks like a lich gate. And a bit of railing. Shame they didn't put the railing right to the end. I don't know why they left the gap. But it's quite attractive. I'm not averse to it, I just wish it did the job it was supposed to do. And as you see, this was erected here in 2019. So I come out to here, turn left, and if you decided to go into Stoke Park Woods and walk up, remember I said you could go into Stoke Park Woods opposite Crowd Hill, turn left at the junction and walk up, it would bring you out here, which is the Hardings Lane entrance to the woods. If you've not discovered Stoke Park Woods, then by all means take yourself down there, it's a lovely spot. And we continue on this path through the Stoke Heights housing estate and continue across the road at Stoke Heights. So follow the path down. So we keep walking forward, the path goes into this little alley type affair which we locals call Dog Do Alley. It's called Dog Do Alley for obvious reasons. So typically not a sign of it, they cleaned up after themselves, which isn't a bad thing. So down to the end of this road we're going to turn right, turn left past the Sandy Lane shops. So we come out the end of Brackley Avenue into Latham Road and we're going to walk along the front of the shops here. So it's nice to see Margot's Southern Tea House doing well. It's new, it's only just opened and there's queues already. Yeah, we're going to carry on past the co-op up there and we're going to cross over into Witt Road. Anyway, look out for the no cycling sign and the block of flats because we're turning right. It's a little public right of way that takes us round towards Shorts Road Wreck. Somebody collects beer cans and Coke cans. So that's Shorts Road Wreck. In the 70s they used to have a fantastic bonfire party in there, but they still use it for carnival fetes. The fun fair gets in there during the Fair Oak Carnival. Yeah, nice little area. So continue down Campbell Way and we'll be coming out at the Summerlands shops. So this is Summerlands shops and you'll notice a lot of this development is late 60s and early 70s. Well, Fair Oak used to be in Winchester Rural District Council, and then in 1974 it was given over to Eastleigh Borough Council, and it really grew like topsy then. I once knew an old postman. He was a post office manager actually when I knew him, but he'd been with the post office for 30 years or more, and he used to be the postman for Fair Oak back in the 50s, and he used to come out of a Primus on his push bike. He used to do the few dozen houses that were up here, brew up a cup of tea, and then cycle back to Eastleigh. Lovely man, Bill Cox. If any of his friends or family are watching, he was a really nice man, and he's much missed, I'm sure. Anyway, out the end of Summerlands, turn left, head back up to the square. So there's the Cricketers Arms. Fair Oak's full of pubs. There's 3 within spitting distance: Cricketers, Old George, Fox and Hounds, and you've got what was the old Lapston up the road towards Horton Heath. But anyway, here we are, back to the square. There's the faithful old number 2 Blue Line bus, and we just sign off in front of pub. So here we are. That was a lovely muddy loop in places and very pleasant in other places. We've done between 6 1/3 and 7 miles. One app says one thing, the other says the other. I would go for the 7 miles, to be honest. Back at the Old George, and so it's a lovely lockdown walk. You can't go far, so it had to be a doorstep walk, and it's quite interesting. There's quite some good history and some lovely countryside locally, so if you are local to Eastleigh, Fair Oak, Bishopstoke, then try it out. If you're not, then after lockdown, come and have a look, because it is quite lovely around there. Anyway, if you like the video, then please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Get out of it. Don't fall in. Oh. Made it. Sorted. How's your trainers? Managed to keep them clean?
Very wet. Oh, it goes on for quite a way, look. This ain't far.
Doesn't it?
Oh, for God's sake.
What's your plan then?
Who knows?
Oh, he's just given up. He's just ploughing through there, never mind the mud. Oh, Jesus on it. Oh, hairy Hampshire hog competition, here we come.